Welcome to Understand the Math. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve quadratic inequalities. We're going to walk through 3 example problems, and I've written down some steps that we can follow to make this easier. Let's get started. In our first example, we're going to solve the quadratic inequality x squared minus 4x plus 3 is greater than 0. Our first step is to solve the corresponding quadratic equation. This just means we're going to ignore the inequality and we're going to put an equal sign where the inequality was. We're going to solve x squared minus 4x plus 3 is equal to 0. I have a lot of videos on solving quadratic equations if you need to review that concept. In this equation, there is a 1 multiplying our x squared, so we're going to use trial and error. I'm going to factor this as an x here. We'll put an x here. We have our equals 0. And then we need to find 2 numbers that multiply to get 3 and add to get minus 4. And those 2 numbers are going to be minus 1 and minus 3. We'll then set each of these factors equal to 0, and we get x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. Let's look back up top here. Our second step is to sketch the quadratic function. In order to do that, I am going to draw a number line right over here. We'll label this as x, and then we're going to put down that x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. Those are the points where our quadratic function is going to cross our x-axis. Notice in our quadratic equation that we have a 1 multiplying x squared. That means our parabola is going to open up, so we can just do a rough sketch of our parabola and know that it's just going to look something like this. Now let's look at our third step. The third step says that we want to determine which intervals satisfy the inequality and then write the solution set. Let's look back at our inequality now. Our inequality had a greater than sign in it. So that means that our quadratic function has to be greater than 0, which means it's going to lie above the x-axis, and that's going to happen in this region and in this region. These regions correspond to x being less than 1 or x being greater than 3. So let's write down that x is less than 1 or x is greater than 3. And then we can write our solution set in interval notation as minus infinity to 1, union, you always put a union sign whenever you have an or, 3 to infinity. And that's the answer to our quadratic inequality. Let's look at another example. In our second example, we're going to be solving the quadratic inequality minus x squared minus 2x plus 8 is less than or equal to 0. Just like we did with our first example, we're going to start by solving the quadratic equation. That equation is minus x squared minus 2x plus 8 is equal to 0. To make things easier, let's multiply both sides of the equation by a -1 so that we have a positive 1 in front of our x squared. This gives us x squared plus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. We can factor this one by trial and error. So let's set this up as an x here. We'll put an x here. We'll put our equal to 0. And then we'll remind ourselves that we need 2 numbers that multiply to get minus 8 and add to get 2. Those 2 numbers are going to be a plus 4 and a minus 2. We then have x plus 4 is equal to 0, or another solution is x minus 2 is equal to 0. This gives us x is equal to minus 4, or x is equal to 2. Let's now go over here to the right and let's draw our number line, and then we can sketch our parabola. I'll label this with an x. We'll put our solutions on here. We have a minus 4 and we have a 2. And then let's notice that in this Inequality, we have a negative in front of the x squared, so that means our parabola is going to open downward, and we can just sketch it like this. Now we have to go back up to our inequality again, and let's look at the inequality sign. We have a less than or equal to 0. This means we're going to be looking for when our parabola lies below the x-axis or is equal to 0. And that's in those two regions. And those two regions correspond to x being less than or equal to 4 and x being greater than or equal to 2. Let's write that down. We have x is less than or equal to negative 4, or we have x is greater than or equal to 2. Writing this in interval notation, we have minus infinity, comma, minus 4. Now we have an equal sign at minus 4, so we have to have a square bracket. And then we have our union sign, we have another square bracket, and then we have 2 to infinity. And that's our answer. Let's do one more example. In this example, our solution is going to lie in between the points that we're going to graph on our line. Let me go ahead and highlight our function. And our first step is going to be to solve the quadratic equation. That equation is x squared minus 2x minus 15 is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and let's factor this. We'll put an x here, put our equal to 0. And then let's look at our numbers. We have to have two numbers that multiply to get minus 15 and add to get minus 2. Those numbers are going to be minus 5 and 3. This gives us x minus 5 is equal to 0 is a solution, or we have x plus 3 is equal to 0. On the left, we get a solution x is equal to 5, and on the right, we get a solution x is equal to minus 3. Now let's go ahead and let's draw our number line. We'll label it with an x, and then we'll put our two roots down. We have a minus 3, and we have a 5. The constant multiplying x squared is equal to 1, and it's greater than 0, so we know our parabola opens upward, and we can go ahead and just sketch it. Now let's look at our inequality sign. It has a less than in it. So that means we're going to be wanting to find where the quadratic is less than 0. And that is in this region right here. And that corresponds to x being between minus 3 and 5. Let's write down then that x is between minus 3 and 5. And we can write this as minus 3 is less than x is less than 5. There's no equal sign there, so we don't have an equal sign in our inequality. And we can then write this in interval notation as minus 3, comma, 5. And that's our solution. I hope that you now feel more comfortable solving quadratic inequalities.
If this video has been helpful to you, please consider subscribing to my channel. Keep believing in yourself and have a great rest of your day.